Welcome to the ICC Pulse Podcast, the show where we get to come alongside you and members across the country to equip and encourage. I'm Bo Hansen, your host for Season 6. And if you're just catching up on this season, I'm the Deputy Building Official in Beaumont, Texas. And before this, I was in the construction business. So in both my current and former life, whether inspecting or installing, I want to know that the building products are properly tested and do what the manufacturer says they're going to do. So today, we're going to get to meet some of the folks behind ICC-ES who make sure that's the case. You're going to get great insight into product certification and hear about some really cool things that they're doing. So let's get it rolling. I want you guys to meet David Tompas. David, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Tell us a little bit what you do for the Code Council.
Thanks, Bo. It's great to be here. So I am the Executive Vice President of Conformity Assessment. And basically, my role is overseeing all of our conformity assessment services. That includes ICC-ES, and that includes ICC-NTA. Looking at those two organizations, ICC-ES is our testing, inspection, and certification division or subsidiary. So anything to do with building product components, the ESR reports that we publish for building officials, and all testing. Originally, our testing laboratories were all under ICC-NTA, and we're now moving those and rebranding those under the ICC-ES umbrella. ICC-NTA is the subsidiary that handles all of our off-site construction. So we have inspectors and plan reviewers that work with building departments all over the country that make sure that even if a building is built off-site in a factory and is delivered, that when those buildings and homes show up, that local building officials can be assured that they are in compliance with all the appropriate building codes.
So how did you get into this?
NTA was a family-owned business. My family ran that business since 1976, started by my father, and we were acquired by ICC in 2019.
Wow.
And NTA was well known in the off-site construction industry. Started out in the manufactured housing industry when those regulations were put in place by the federal government in the mid-1970s. And we would go out into manufacturers and audit their quality control process, certify their products. The testing aspect of what NTA did started about, I believe it was 1995. We had clients that needed tests done on their products. So it was just a service to our clients to help them become compliant and bring some innovative things to their products. So we had this empty building that we gutted and put a little bit of equipment in there and slowly started adding standards to run tests and to help our clients. I think it was probably 2002 when we looked at what we were doing down there and we basically said, hey, this is really something we could take to the next level. And we decided to get accredited as a testing laboratory. And then moving forward to 2019 is when ICC started looking at NTA as a potential acquisition. And we worked through all that. We were actually, when that happened, we were in the process of building a fire testing laboratory down in Bryan, Texas. So I think we were breaking ground on that laboratory as ICC started talking to us about an acquisition. So that's where we are with NTA as far as the testing laboratories go. I am in the process of taking all of that testing and really rebranding that under ES, because my goal is to have a one-stop shop for our clients so that they can come to ES and, if they have a new innovative product that they're looking to have certified, to be able to show that it meets the intent of the code, that we can, from that initial application, work with them seamlessly and try to make that process very simple and easy so that our clients can get to market quickly. And having that all under one umbrella, I think really helps with that process.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine it would streamline the process. Two things you said that caught my attention. This has been a family business for you. This is something that you care deeply about. You still have that in your blood. I think that goes a long way. That's important to hear.
I think it's the purpose behind what we do. You got to understand, or at least why I do this, is because I care about this industry.
Yeah.
I see what's happening in this country with costs of construction. And I look at this as a way that I can hopefully give back and help reduce costs for, new home buyers. And the way I look at it is through the regulations, we want to do a couple things. We want to be able to hopefully keep costs down and bring new innovative, energy efficient products to market quickly that help people save money overall. But we also want to make them safe. So I think ICC as a whole, we have this amazing story about what we do. The fact that we're helping develop building codes to keep people safe. And now with the addition of the laboratories and what we've always done with ES in certifying these products to make sure they're safe. Again, that's why I get up, every Monday I go to work and I'm like, how are we going to keep society safe this year?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've experienced that on such a small level in the municipality I'm in, and there's a lot of joy. There's a lot of fulfillment in that.
I will say it is difficult when you've been in the regulatory industry for so long. I've been doing this for over 25 years. It is hard to walk through any building and not have all the code items pop out at you when you're walking through.
Realtors
But,
probably hate you.
Oh, they do. Yes. It's very difficult for me to buy a house.
Well, offhand, do you know of any case studies where you were able to measure impact in the market as a whole?
I'm not aware of any case studies. I've got examples of things that I've done over the years, just with homeowners. And, we've gotten involved with different cases where homeowners have had some problems and we've been able to go out and help resolve those issues. Unfortunately, a lot of people that are buying buildings, they don't know the regulations.
Right.
They don't know what they don't know. And they end up getting a large mortgage out on their home, and then they find out there's issues. And, we've been able to help a lot of homeowners over the years get those issues resolved. And so it's very fulfilling to help consumers fix those problems.
At your level, do you have to seek out stories like that, or do you still find those stories crossing your desk where you get to have that fulfillment in your job?
Oh, yeah, every day I do get involved. Sometimes probably a little more than I need to on some issues, but I do enjoy it. It's very rewarding.
That's good to hear. What about some manufacturers that who have achieved certain certifications and improved their market presence? Do you know of any that have undergone that?
Well, I think almost all of our clients that come to us that need these certifications, it's, for them to bring these new innovative products to market, it's essential that they have this information so they can go to the local building official and say, hey, here's all our information. Here's why you should accept our product. In a lot of cases, they aren't going to be able to have those products accepted at all if they don't utilize our services.
Right.
So I think almost all of our clients are going to see the benefits of being able to get those products to market quickly.
And if there are any manufacturers listening, yes, that makes my job easy as a building official. Is when I see your work showing up on my desk, that's an easy green light. Speaking of any manufacturers listening, any lessons or best practices for companies seeking certification?
I think what's important is that what you're trying to achieve when you come to us, and we can help manufacturers understand what they need, but it's always easier and much, much quicker when manufacturers come to us with, hey, here's what we've already done. We've done some testing. I don't care if the testing is we submerged the product in a bucket and here's how it reacted to water, or they don't necessarily have to follow ASTM standards, but it's really nice when they've come to us and they kind of know how their product is going to perform.
Is there a place they can go to see a step-by-step process of, again, like you said, they may not know what they don't know. And so is there a place where they can educate themselves before they actually begin that process?
I think just talking to our experts, I think can give them an idea of what they need to do or what they could do prior to, having us do a certified test. And the whole reason for that is we have all these accreditations, we have all the certified and calibrated equipment. It's expensive to run some of these tests. It can be costly. And so to know how it's going to perform is going to save a lot of money for the manufacturers if they have at least an idea. But I don't think there's a online class or something where you can learn this. Our engineers have years and years of experience working with different products. And I don't know how you gain that knowledge without having just those years of experience doing this.
That's fair. That makes sense. What about trends? I mean, do you anticipate seeing any particular trends over the next few years?
We see new innovative products all the time. You have the 3D printed homes out in the field, which are very interesting, but we're also seeing 3D printed materials that are being used in construction. So that's something new and interesting that I think is coming down the pipe. I think the environmental properties of materials are going to become on the forefront again here over the next few years. I've done a lot of traveling, and when I go outside of the United States, that's what's always talked about. I think over the next several years, we're going to see more on life cycle analysis and environmental product declarations. Those are some of the things that I think are going to come down the pipe here in the short term.
And are y'all set up to adapt with that and grow with those trends?
Yeah, we've actually been a program operator for EPDs for almost 10 years. And we're one of the few organizations that's accredited to publish environmental product declarations. So we are set up to be able to do that, but it's relatively new right now. I believe California has some regulations on the books that are going to require life cycle analysis on any buildings over 100,000 square feet. And those requirements get lower. I think it goes down to 50,000 square feet a couple of years after that. So we're going to start to see these regulations come into play that if you're going to build a federal building or buildings over a certain size, you're going to have to start doing life cycle analysis on all the products that go into them. So it's going to be something that is going to happen, I think, quickly over the next couple of years.
You've got the opportunity to bend the ear of a handful of code officials. What do you want to say? What do you want them to know? What do you, maybe with these products that are coming across their desk, maybe what's something that you want them to look for that they might not be looking for?
I think if there's one thing that I would like to see more of is building officials, they get our ESR reports and they looking at the limits of use in those reports, because I know they have limited time to research some of these products. And that's the whole point of the ESR, is that we're doing that for the building officials. But I think it's extremely important that they take some time to read through those reports and make sure that those products are being installed properly, and that you look at the end of those code reports and you find out what the limits of use of those products are. Because just because there's an ESR or a listing on a particular product, that doesn't mean that it can be used for anything. And that would be the one thing that, I've seen over the years, especially when we're going out and doing some forensics investigations, that it shouldn't be looked at as a blanket approval for a product.
That's a good word. I appreciate you, because you're right. Oftentimes, like you said, we're blowing and going, a new product comes in and we're trying to make a quick decision. Often it never fails. It's on a job that is, critical. We got to get this answer today. Tons of money's on the line and we're trying to make a wise, thoughtful decision. So really taking time to read through the limits of use. That's a good word. I appreciate that. And I also just want to publicly say again, thanks for taking time to do this interview with us. Again, there are so many people involved in the International Code Council. And oftentimes this episode's called Tales from the Testing Facility because it's like this Narnia-esque place where we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. So thanks for pulling back the curtain with us and taking time to do that. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited to introduce you to our next guest. His name is Justin Mann. Justin is the operations manager for ICC NTA. Now, Justin, I think we need some clarification there. I was under the impression that NTA was National Testing Agency, but is that inaccurate?
Yeah, actually it is. So NTA does not stand for National Testing Agency, but rather it's our founder's initials. And so the T actually...
Trivia question. There we go.
Yeah.
And then also tell us about what you do. And then I want to clarify some more things, because ICC is doing some pretty great things to help consolidate all of if you go to the bottom of their website, you see all these different icons, and it seems that some of them are combining in a spirit of collaboration. So tell us about yourself and what you do there, and then we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. As you mentioned, I'm the operations manager. I oversee our testing laboratories in northern Indiana. We have the 2 locations, one in Napanee and one in Goshen. So we get to run a lot of different types of tests on a lot of different products. So it's always something a little different. Been in the industry for over 20 years and always enjoy the testing, inspection, and certification world.
How did you find yourself in that world? What led you there?
So it was actually my summer job while I was going to college. I started off, I was just mowing and painting and filing. And once I graduated, I said, I'll stick around here and keep on doing this for a little while. And 15 years later, I was still at the same company, and 20 years later in the same industry. And it's just been very enjoyable to kind of never even heard of a testing laboratory before I joined the team there.
So bring us behind the scenes, if you will. Pull the curtain back on what it is y'all actually get to do. Because I got to imagine there are so many things that we don't even realize that are a product of your work that make our lives easier as building officials?
Yeah, the testing world is rather broad, and the types of products that we get to test really ranges from anything small scale to large scale. We see your typical construction products and materials, things of concrete, steel, and wood, all the way on up through innovative materials, things that we just haven't even seen yet. And we get to be a part of that process and partnering with our clients that are manufacturing these new products with new materials and help them to bring those products online and into the market.
Now, are y'all exclusively rough materials, or are y'all finished fixtures and things of that nature as well?
Both. Yep. So we'll work with the materials themselves. We do some small scale material tests, and the finished products, we run things like large scale structural performance of assembled wall panels and other types of products.
Help me wrap my head around this, because I imagine this is just an enormous industry. UL listings, things of that nature. Where does this fall in relation to the other listing and testing services out there?
There's a lot of different types of testing laboratories out there, and some are very specific, and they only work with certain product types or only run certain types of tests. We run a very broad spectrum. We're somewhat generalists by nature because of the code compliance aspect. We have to be able to do durability and material tests, structural performance for the intended end use, and work with a wide variety of materials. So it's one of the unique things about our business is that it really encompasses a very broad range.
You didn't stumble into this industry, but kind of like me, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be working for local government. And here I am, and I'm loving it. Your career path seems similar. You're in an industry that is a pretty niche industry and specialized, and I hear the passion. Tell us about what you love about this industry. What really gets your blood boiling and gets you out of bed in the morning?
Yeah, there's a couple things. First and foremost, I just enjoy working with the people, both our employees as well as our customers. It's really neat to be a part of a process where we can help to bring these new and innovative products to market and getting that chance to work closely with people on that. And then the other aspect that I really enjoy is the fact that we get to see some of these very innovative materials before they're on the market. We're like the last step before somebody goes, they spend all this time in R&D and they're ready to go to market, but they can't until they can establish that the product is safe and meets building code requirements.
So I'm in inland 2 coastal region. We're very hurricane prone in our region. And so we have certainly two things that we keep at the forefront of our mind. One, like when it comes to windows, are they energy efficient? And then also is the windstorm rating there and how they're installed and everything that goes with that. But I would imagine for you guys, it's a trifecta. You've got to consider all the things, particularly as technology continues to advance. Are they, whether it be fire rating and everything that goes into that, to make sure all the boxes are checked. That's got to be a never-ending process, never-ending battle as these materials continues to get better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you improve the performance aspect in one criteria, you have to consider how that product may change in performance in another aspect. You make your material stronger, but maybe it's more brittle now, and it all plays together because it has to be totally performing in all of those categories.
So when it comes to testing, I envision basically like a checklist of things, or maybe one sort of testing mechanism. Is it all the same for each product, or is there are a bunch of different tests out there?
There are definitely a bunch of different tests out there. Even when you're doing one similar type of test, sometimes there's a different way to run it based on the material type that's being evaluated. It's one of the reasons standardization is so important because there are different material considerations on how a certain material or product may perform or be subject to certain test types. And so we run a wide variety of different tests.
Do you have a favorite?
I actually really enjoy slip resistance testing. It's not something that a lot of people think about, but that's a very important one. You think about consumers, for example, you walk into a grocery store and the floor that you're walking on, very easily somebody may have spilled something that's a little wet. And so, you want to make sure that you've got a good flooring product that even when it's wet, it'll hold up to foot traffic and not have a lot of people slipping around. So we probably run about a dozen different types of slip resistance tests for different materials, but also different pieces of equipment and ways that you run a slip resistance test.
Is there a scale of more slippery versus not? What's that look like?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a slip resistance index. And so it's on a scale of 0 to 1. Yep. And so the higher the rating on that scale of 0 to 1, the more slip resistant the material is.
Okay, so what is typical grocery store flooring? What is that rate?
I'm not sure that I can answer that one specifically, but a typical product is going to be looking to have a slip resistance rating of 0.5 or better. That's generally accepted as a fairly slip resistant material.
That's what I would figure. Those hard floors in there are probably middle of the road, but that's something you don't think about. What's the strangest test? Because I'm going to be honest, that was not, when it comes to a favorite type of test, I wasn't expecting that. What's maybe the strangest thing you've ever tested?
There's one test that comes to mind for that. We did a squeak test. And so basically the request was, what happens when the nail comes loose from the floorboard and somebody's walking around on it? And that's going to make some noise. How much noise does it make? And so we actually set up a test to pull the nail in and out and measure the squeak in decibels.
Wow. And that's a pretty specific example. I mean, is there noise in general? Does essentially each test have a noise category? Like my garage door, I've noticed my newer garage door is much better noise-wise than my older garage door. So is that something that would have been tested through y'all?
We don't run much in terms of the acoustical types tests, but acoustical testing is a big part of our industry. As building construction improves, and as we have houses built near airports and things of this nature, you want to make sure that it's not letting a lot of sound in, just for the comfort level
right.
for living. Even apartments, you've got floors and ceilings that you want to make sure that your neighbors above or below you aren't making too much noise, or that you're not bothering them.
What test, again, on this array of tests out there, are there some that take less time than others? What takes the shortest amount of time?
Yeah, definitely. There are some very short duration type tests. Usually you're thinking about material tests, so a smaller specimen, just a short duration. So something like an impact test where you're dropping a known amount of weight onto a piece of material to see how well it holds up to that, or maybe even a small scale bending test or tension test. It might be the matter of a few minutes to run that test. Even small scale fire, it might be a 30-second burn, and just see how quickly it actually consumes the material.
What about the longest? Any tests out there that just take an excessive amount of time?
Yeah, for sure. When you start talking about some of the weathering tests, so you're trying to perform an accelerated weathering test to simulate outdoor exposure. And so you want to know how your material is going to be durable over the test of time. And so it's pretty typical for a test to be done over a 2,000-hour exposure, which takes about 3 months to perform. So we're actually putting materials into a weathering chamber that's exposing it to simulated sunlight, temperature, humidity, water spray, the whole 9 yards. And that light goes on and off and simulates outdoor exposure. Miami-Dade County actually asked for 4,500 hours, which is about 7 months to run. So everybody says, well, is there any way you can run that faster? And so 4,500 hours is 4,500 hours. But then the alternative in the Florida building code says, or you can put the material outside in the southern tip of Florida for 5 years. And so then everybody wants to run the 4,500 hour test.
Yeah. Compared to 5 years, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I've heard there have been rumors that you guys have a cannon that shoots 2x4s. So question one, where can I purchase this? And question two, what do y'all use that for?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't know where I could tell you to purchase one.
I need one of those. I'm not sure what I'd use it for, but I need hints on what y'all use it for.
Absolutely. It's a very fun test, and it's a lot of people's favorites. So what we might call the flying 2x4 basically simulates windborne debris during a hurricane or a tornado event.
Got it.
And so essentially we're firing that 2x4 at a product that is designed to withstand impacts from this windborne debris. For example, so we're actually shooting for a hurricane. We're using somewhere between 7 and 9 foot long 2x4 that weighs 9 pounds. And we're shooting that at a minimum of 50 feet per second, which is about 34 miles an hour. So we impact the material. We look to see that a hole is not created at that point of impact to make sure that it is resistant to that. And then 3 specimens have to be tested for that. So you get a little bit of variability in production that we want to make sure is encompassed in that test. And that's just for a hurricane. Tornadoes are even bigger.
Wow.
So with tornadoes, we're actually shooting.
So y'all have multiple of these? Y'all have multiple guns?
Nope. We use one gun to do both.
Okay.
It just has a higher pressure.
I'm imagining like an armory of these 2x4 guns.
Yeah.
So that's not the case. Got it.
No. So for tornadoes, we shoot a 15-pound, 13-foot long 2x4 at 150 feet per second, which is literally 100 miles an hour. So based on that missile's mass and the speed at which it's fired, it actually evaluates a storm shelter for designed wind speeds of up to 250 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And
I imagine those are the fun days.
they are. Sometimes we splinter that 2x4 into toothpicks, and then other days we penetrate steel.
Tell me you guys have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely we do. Yeah, if you go onto YouTube, search for ICC Media, and you'll see a bunch of videos there.
And I can see someone shooting a 2x4.
You got it.
All right.
So that's obviously one of the cooler products that y'all get to work with. What about strange products? Are there some strange products out there that you've gotten your hands on?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely some unique products. If you really think about human nature, we're innovative. So we're always coming up with new products that are better, faster, and cheaper. And so we're always seeing some really cool things coming our way. And actually what I really like about it is we get to be on the forefront of new products before they even come to market. And we see these innovative products come in that we might not have even thought of before, but we get to see how they perform. We get to be part of that leading edge, if you will, of products coming to market and helping people bring newer and safe construction to the public.
Does that innovation with products cause innovation or a need for innovation with y'all's testing? Do you have to create new tests with some of these newer products that are coming in?
Yes. In fact, we're very involved with standards development organizations. ICC ourselves, we publish standards and have a development process. We're also heavily involved with groups like ASTM and NFPA and things of that nature. So we're always looking at these new and innovative products and coming up with new standards for how products are being used or designed today. Nothing is static for sure.
What about the older products? You know, I know a lot of times you got builders who are trying to repurpose materials. Say you've got a barn that, you know, had wood that was from 100 years ago, and you've seen the memes on Facebook or wherever where it shows a 2x4 from 2019 and a 2x4 from 1919, totally different 2x4s. And so do y'all ever recertify products or have a system for that?
We definitely do see some of this from a testing standpoint. As a matter of fact, something you mentioned there is exactly the scenario we had recently. Reclaimed lumber, and looking to see it's aesthetically pleasing, but it's also very green, and we're able to see the reuse of these products. And so we've done some tests such as bending tests or flexural testing to see how well the product performs under stress, not taking it to failure because we want to actually reuse it, but putting it through the paces a little bit and seeing, does it break easily or does it withstand some of those forces?
Well, Justin, thanks so much. Some really cool stuff y'all are getting to do there, and extremely important in making sure our buildings are safe. Hey, speaking of cool, let's hear a short message from our sponsor for this episode, the American Gas Association.
The American Gas Association, which represents more than 200 local energy companies delivering natural gas to homes and businesses across the nation, is a proud sponsor of the ICC Building Safety Month. AGA strongly supports the mission of the ICC to provide model codes that help ensure a safe and sustainable path for the built environment. Natural gas helps keep energy affordable for the nearly 187 million Americans and more than 5.5 million businesses that use it. Gas has driven down emissions in our nation to historic lows. The natural gas industry is an integral part of our nation's energy future and will continue to deliver safe, reliable, and efficient natural gas to the millions of Americans who rely on it every day. Visit aga.org to learn more.
Our next guest is an incredible gift to the show. She's the Vice President of Building Products at ICC-ES, Tracy Stonish. We've learned a lot about what ICC-ES does and how it does it, but I'm hoping to get a glimpse into the future here. Where do you see the future heading in terms of building materials and what you guys are doing on the certification side?
One of the major trends that we're noticing is the race to improve sustainability, of course. And so offering eco-friendly products and eco-friendly processes is really important to the public right now. And manufacturers are trying to take steps in that direction, I think. The other thing that we're seeing is really a push for more efficiency. So anytime they can make a process faster or improve and make installation, for example, easier, that saves time. And we know that time relates into cost savings, which that's a big goal for our industry right now, is to provide low cost, low maintenance buildings.
And often those two worlds are hard to make compatible. High efficiency products, but also that aren't going to just kill our pocketbooks.
That's right. I mean, it is really difficult out there to make those things work. And that's where, all of the research and development that goes into these products before they make it, it's really just really amazing to see.
Again, I'm down in Beaumont, Texas, and a lot of folks hear the energy code and they run for the hills. They don't want anything to do with it. They think it's going to cost them an arm and a leg. But in reality, these products are getting so much better because of the work that y'all are doing. Go further on that, if you will, because everything from insulation to windows to you name it, what are some things that you've seen just really impress you when it comes to the efficiency world out there?
I think it really comes down to the small details. Again, that's my behind the scenes kind of view of this. Is there are things that a gasket profile, for example, that make just a world of difference into how a product performs. And so taking a current technology and changing little things here and there.
The smallest things.
The smallest thing in some cases. I mean, in other cases, it's really profound. I am amazed also sometimes that somebody was able to have this bright idea and use, sometimes it's a current technology that is being used for a different purpose. Sometimes they saw a rising need and they found a solution to it. And sometimes it is just the smallest little thing that makes a huge difference.
Do you run into anything that this is the way we've always done it and we don't really know why? I mean, do y'all get to face those things head on in what you do?
Yes, because as different materials change over time, lumber changes over time. And so the properties of that and what we did in the past, we see it not meeting the safety standards any longer. And that's where it's really important that we stay on top of those trends and see those things, bring them to the industry and work towards making a change.
Yeah, I would have to imagine that there's so many ends cut off the ham situation. Have you heard that one?
I have to think about that.
This kid comes up to her mom and sees her cutting off the ends of the ham and putting it on the baking dish before she sticks it in the oven, and asks, why do you do that? And she goes, no, I don't know. Ask your grandma. She always did it. And so the young girl goes to the grandma and say, Grandma, why do you always cut the ends off the ham? I noticed Mom doing it. And the grandma starts busting out laughing. And I said, oh, I just had a small pan. And so there's so many things that we do and we don't know the why. And, when it comes to building materials and the testing, y'all get to analyze that and make sure that, like you said, lumber and all the different materials that we use on a daily basis, are they there for a good reason, or are we just cutting off the ends because we don't know why we did it in the first place?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And actually that's one of the most exciting pieces of my job is what we see are the innovative materials. We see the new technologies, we see the new ideas coming through every day. If it's already been tested and it's passed and it's been approved, other than some continuous compliance testing that we do, for the most part, it's out there. So what is coming through the lab are all of these improvements. They're people out in the world seeing an issue or thinking that we can make an improvement, and it comes through.
And that's, again, full circle, that we notice that on the bottom line. It impacts our pocketbooks when the materials get better in a positive
100%. 100%.
I'm going to share a little personal story. There's a place in Beaumont. There's several places, great indoor places to bring kids and just turn them loose and let them be kids for an hour or two. Since I've been here, one of those places has undergone an alteration and they submitted permits, and they're in the process of a corner of their huge building that this place operates in. They're wanting to do electric go-karts. That's awesome, first of all. But that was the first time, really, if I'm being honest, in my plan review process that I've really paused and it was personal to me. I started thinking about, I don't know if you have kids, but I know for mine, I'm oftentimes just trying to keep up, and they're running everywhere in that environment. And I started thinking about the rails around that go-kart track, the gate and the latch system with that go-kart. And man, that was a moment for me where I was really believing in what I was getting to be a part of. It was a light bulb moment almost of, man, this stuff matters. I tell that long-winded story just to ask you, was there a moment like that for you in the testing facility where it was just like, this matters?
Yeah, we see such a wide variety of different products come in the testing lab, and we, test in many different standards that I feel like sometimes that happens to me almost on a daily basis. I'll walk into a new restaurant that's got this cool aesthetic, and their ceiling is, it's exposed and it's very industrial looking, and I'm looking at it going, okay, where's the ICC-ES sticker that shows me this thing has been tested and passed? Because I know that these materials, without the proper installations or without the proper safety requirements, let's just say that they can be hazardous. And so I see things like that all the time. It's amazing the things that I notice because of what I've seen in the testing laboratory. But I'll say probably my favorite story from my experience happened more on a continuous compliance effort that we were doing. There was a product for a manufacturer, and it had gone through our process, and it was a certified product. And I mean, you can go and it's on your local hardware store shelves with all of the appropriate marks. And so our continuous compliance requires that our team goes in and does ongoing quality audits at the manufacturing location, and then also some verification testing. These are just additional checks to make sure that their processes and the products that they're using are the same as when they passed the test to begin with. And during the course of this continuous compliance effort, a verification test came back and flagged that something had changed in that product. And when we brought this to the manufacturer, they were quite baffled. And we were also, because we had done a quality audit and we both agreed that it looked like nothing had changed in their process. Anyway, there was a lot in between there. We did additional testing to make sure that it wasn't an error on our side or that they just didn't have an off batch. We found the same results over and over again. And after some digging into it, the manufacturer found that someone way down in their supply chain had made a change that they deemed insignificant enough that they didn't notify their suppliers. But it was significant enough that it flagged a change in this certified product. So I think that was really the moment for me where I was like, wow, they would have never known this. There is no way that manufacturer would have known it without our services. And that's where I really realized what we are doing. It's not just to check a box and say, yes, you passed the test. It really is there for a reason.
So stories like that, you've seen a lot of great things, but you've also experienced a lot of things that can slow up the process for manufacturers. And so talk a little bit about that. And what have you seen that could slow up the process for them? What can you share with them?
My best advice that I have for manufacturers is to be informed and stay informed of the regulatory requirements for your product. A new sustainable product, a beautiful facade, a easy to install option. These are all great things that we desperately need in our industry. But if it's not able to meet the safety standards, it will never make it into the marketplace. And so the best way to do that is to partner from the very early stages with a testing and certification body. We will be able to lead you in the right direction, talk through some of the things that you're not maybe thinking about when you're thinking about how beautiful this product is going to be or how it's going to solve a need in the world. And I would also encourage manufacturers to set aside the appropriate budgets. Expect changes and redesigns, because we know that you're not manufacturing your products to meet safety standards. You're manufacturing them for another process. And the time and the money and the knowledge are the three things that we can help with when it comes to preparing and being prepared to have your product enter the marketplace.
Awesome. Tracy, thank you again for your time. Again, this is one of those topics that we just often overlook. And so taking a behind the scenes look into the industry, we're very grateful for it. So thank you for what you do, often unseen, but we're grateful for all the hard work you are doing.
Yeah, thank you, Bo. I appreciate the opportunity to be on today.
Well, this has been a treat for me, and I hope the same for you. Before this episode, I was clueless about ICC's testing facility, and now, well, at least I know how much I don't know. If you want to learn more about ES, check out ICC-ES.org. And Justin, hey, I'm going to be checking my mail for that 2x4 cannon. Folks, our next episode is really cool. It's about the YouTube series American Plumber Stories. We're going to hear behind the scenes tales and great stories from places like Australia, Hawaii, and Canada, just to name a few. But I'll leave you with this. In these knowledge-driven conversations that we get to have every day, people don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. So let's be quick to listen, slow to speak, and we'll meet back here next time on the ICC Pulse Podcast.